Well, welcome to another edition of History in Your Own Backyard. I'm Jim Scott with Chuck Andrews. And Chuck, this is sort of history about something in your front yard, right?
Yes, it is my front yard, and it's the quietest neighbors that I've ever had.
Hope it stays that way while we're doing this, okay? So this is Dearborn County, Indiana. We're on Mount Pleasant Road, and this is called the Mount Pleasant Cemetery. And it doesn't belong to you, but you've got a vested interest in it. Explain that.
Well, Mount Pleasant is an association, the cemetery here, and we take care of the cemetery ourselves. We don't get any funds from the government or anything like that. It's taken care of by family and donations. And there's myself, I'm the president. Don Irrigang, my brother-in-law, is a member, and Mark Hansel is a member.
You know, Hansel, I saw that name here on a stone. Also, I think quite a bit of your family's buried in the cemetery.
Yes, I do. I have my aunts and uncles here in the front, and my aunts in the back here, and my mom over this way. She has a little night light there that comes on every night, and I can actually say goodnight to her every night from my bedroom window.
Let's talk about the old days. When was this cemetery, the Mount Pleasant Cemetery, first founded?
It was first started down the road.
Oh.
About a mile down the road on the right, on a road called Sawmill Hill Road, which is no longer there.
Okay.
And the reason that it's up here, all the patrons up here would have to go down Sawmill Hill Road to East Fork Cemetery.
Oh, sure.
And so they got tired of that, and Mr. Grubbs up here donated this land in 1842 to start the cemetery up here. So they actually moved some of the graves from down Sawmill Road up to here.
About how many moved up here?
I really don't know. We have the old part of the cemetery and the new part.
Well, that will help us.
Yeah.
So if
in the 1840s, I don't know, maybe 20 or 30.
I'll bet you if you go back and look at some of the tombstones that we might very well see some dates that might give some sort of indication. About how many souls are under the ground here, the Mount Pleasant Cemetery?
We have actual records of 192.
I was going to ask you, I would think most cemeteries haven't really thought too much about this, have rules about how someone ends up being buried there. And so what was it like early on? Was it religious-based at all? Was it just geographic families or what?
It was back in them days. I got old letters and stuff that I read about these people. In the 1850s and 60s or 1840s, these people back in, the church and family and working hard and surviving was it.
Right.
And that was the main thing.
But a lot of cemeteries would be maybe church-based. I don't think this one was it?
Yes, the church was located on the north part of the cemetery, and there was a school right here.
So that church and the school are gone. One time there was a Mount Pleasant Methodist church, and most likely some of the people that went to that church in the congregation were then buried in the cemetery.
Yes.
Are there any really distinguished, well-known, maybe you'd almost say famous people here in the cemetery?
Well, my daughter's done some research, and my family's related to the Smith and Eubanks, which have she's traced back to Abraham Lincoln, so we have maybe some of his bloodline here, maybe.
Now, let's see. I think the Eubanks, it's the Eubanks down at Route 1, had one of the earlier homes. I think they call it the Homestead.
Lebo Eubank, yes. Yeah.
I don't think he's buried here. I think he might be in the East Fork or West Fork.
He's in East Fork, yes.
Originally, there were some families that were in a cemetery that was down the road. And what was the name of that cemetery?
Most likely the Grubbs and Hansels. They're the oldest ones.
I'm looking over your shoulder. I see some Grubbs. And then Hansels is one of the long-time names. I mean, they've been around since the beginning. Some of the Hansels are here. I've also seen some of the Hansels, I think, down. I do some running on Bonnell, and they're in West Fork.
Up there, what they used to call Hansel Station up in Bonnell.
I see. But your family, about when was the first member of the Andrews family into the cemetery?
Probably in the 90s. Dad had 9 brothers and sisters, and he's the only one left. So when they started dying, they died pretty quick altogether, and There's some right here in the front, and the other ones are in the back area.
Right.
And we do have two Civil War veterans here.
You do?
Yes.
Wow.
And
Can you? Is there some indication on their gravestone that they're a Civil War vet?
one of them is, but the other one we had to do some research because it's all weathered. But we did find his records thanks to the Lawrenceburg Library and the service officer down at Dearborn County, Mike Burgess, helped us. He had a list of all the stuff. So it is really interesting when you get in, because I'm really into the history of. We also have World War I veterans and World War II veterans here.
Sure. I want to compliment you and all the other members of the Mount Pleasant Cemetery Association for doing what you're doing. I mean, isn't it horrible when once in a while you see a cemetery and it's overgrown, nobody cares anymore?
Yeah, that just makes me sick, and that shouldn't be.
Well, Chuck, before we get blown away here on top of this beautiful ridge in Indiana and Mount Pleasant Cemetery, Chuck Andrews, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Jim.
And thank you for watching another edition of History in Your Own Backyard. I'm Jim Scott. This is Chuck Andrews. Stop by and say hello to some of the folks. They'd like visitors. And remember, travel slowly and stop often.